Have you ever seen a tiny personal problem just blow up into something completely insane? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. This is a story about how something as simple as a teenager's broken belt can get twisted into a massive societal delusion that's sold, enforced, and used to control, well, pretty much everyone. And it all kicks off with one kid just trying to keep his pants up.
So let's meet our main character, Evan. And his problem? It's something I think we can all kind of get. His family's going through a tough time, there's no cash for a new belt, and his just snapped. For him, that piece of leather hanging off his pants, it's not some fashion statement. It's a huge source of anxiety, a symbol of poverty he is just desperately trying to hide. He's just trying to get through the school day in one piece.
Okay, so here's where things start to go sideways. Because, it's high school. Nothing is ever simple or private. A classmate, Abby, spots the belt, but she doesn't see a kid who needs help. Nope, she sees someone breaking the rules. And just like that, with one little accusation, Evan's personal struggle isn't his anymore. It's been reframed for everyone to judge.
And this is really the heart of the whole issue, right here. You've got reality on one side, a poor kid with a broken belt, simple. But on the other side, a completely new story, a narrative. He's not poor. He's a rebel with an illegal animal familiar tale. It's wild. And let's be honest, the exciting story almost always wins out over the boring truth, doesn't it?
All right, now let's bring in our first major player, Principal Pent. Think of him as the ultimate rules are rules guy. He doesn't look into it, doesn't ask Evan what's going on. He just hears the story, flips open his rule book, and slaps Evan with a $100 fine. And the irony here is just brutal. The kid's getting fined because he's too poor to buy a new belt, and the punishment is a fine he can't possibly pay.
So naturally, Evan tries to explain, right? Hey, my belt's just broken. But does he get any understanding? Not a chance. Instead, he gets hit with another charge, insubordination. He's punished even more for daring to question the ridiculous narrative than for the fake problem in the first place. And that tells you everything you need to know. This system doesn't care about the truth. It just wants you to shut up and comply.
Okay, so we've got the initial incident, but now we move into stage 2, manufacturing a full-blown crisis. See, a simple misunderstanding isn't juicy enough. For this narrative to really stick, it has to get bigger, scarier. And that's when a few key people see their chance to turn this chaos into an opportunity.
And what's crazy is that there's a playbook for this kind of thing. It's almost a formula. First, you mislabel the problem. It's not poverty, it's a dangle. Then, you punish the victim for it. Step 3, and this one's huge, you figure out how to make money off the solution. And finally, to justify it all, you invent some bigger threat.
And speaking of making money, enter Diesel. He's what you might call an entrepreneur of empathy. He swoops in, seeing this whole thing not as a problem, but as a business opportunity. He starts a fundraiser to help Evan, but get this, the fine print says he keeps 90% for his expert services. He's literally monetizing compassion.
Well, to keep that fundraiser money coming in, you can't just have a broken belt. You need more drama. So suddenly, it's not just a rule violation, it's a public health emergency. They invent something called broken belt contagion. They mandate 6 feet of distance. They even create a new mental disorder, donation phobia. And the punchline to this whole joke? A school-wide rule that everyone now has to wear 2 belts. It's completely off the rails.
So, we've got a crisis. We've got a way to make money from it. But how do you make it permanent? Well, you have to turn it into an ideology. This is where a temporary panic gets baked into the system, becoming a mandatory, and, of course, super profitable, new way of life for the whole school.
And the easiest way to do that? Create an us versus them. Diesel and a buddy invent 2 rival groups. The Wiggles, who wear these fake, virtuous, animal-friendly tails, and the Wags, who claim their tails are authentic and powerful. It's a totally manufactured culture war, and its only real purpose is to sell more stuff. And if you had any doubt about the motive, just listen to what Diesel says. It's so cynical, it's almost impressive. If we give them 2 sides to fight for, we double the market share. It's not about what you believe in. It's not about identity. It's about creating 2 sets of customers instead of 1.
And you can guess who comes in to make this whole charade official. Yep, Principal Pent. He mandates that every single student has to pick a side. You have to wear an identifier tail, either a Wiggle or a Wag. So now this commercial business plan has become school law. Participation is no longer optional.
Okay, so things are looking pretty bleak. But just when it seems like everyone's lost their minds,
a different voice emerges. A student named Evelyn starts to push back, but not by fighting their game. Instead, she offers a totally different perspective, a school for the soul. She says the real fight isn't Wiggles versus Wags. It's about choosing between all this external fantasy and your own internal truth.
And this is how she reframes it. The school is pushing everyone to identify with their lowest, most animal-like instincts, which she calls the Tempter's team. But Evelyn offers another path. Identify with your higher self, your divine soul, the Creator's team. So the choice isn't about which tail to wear. It's about whether you see yourself as just an animal or something more.
And to snap everyone out of it, she hits them with a major reality check. She reminds them, hey, look, we're all in the top 5% of the planet. She brings up some pretty stark numbers about the rest of the world, people without democracy, religious freedom, or even enough food. And her point is powerful. With all this privilege, why are we wasting our energy on a fake war over fake tales when there's so much real suffering out there?
So the whole idea behind her soul school is this. Life isn't about picking a team or a label. It's about mastering who you are inside, your virtues, your strengths. The challenges we face, they're not punishments, they're lessons. The real choice isn't, am I a wiggle or a wag? It's, what virtue am I going to work on mastering today?
And all of this leads us to the end game, the final choice. The school's ideology just keeps getting more and more extreme, pushing everyone to a point where they have to make a decision. The absurdity that started in a hallway is now about to take over everything, and there's no way to sit on the sidelines anymore.
Just look at this timeline. It shows you how a small, crazy idea can snowball. It all starts with a broken belt, a simple, real-world problem. But that becomes a public dangle, which leads to mandatory double belts, then the whole Wiggles versus Wags war, then actual surgical tail implants, and it ends with an AI president. It seems insane, but each step follows logically from the last. It's the classic slippery slope playing out right in front of you.
And at the absolute peak of this madness, Principal Pence goes all in. He's not just the enforcer anymore. He's the high priest of this new religion. He now identifies as serpent, complete with his own serpent tail, and he demands the final step from the students, a permanent surgical transition to achieve what he calls animalistic perfection. So, here it is, the two paths, laid out clear as day. Serpent's message is basically, give up, you're just biology, you're just an animal, an instinct, nothing more. But Evelyn's counter is powerful. You can mess with our bodies, you can put labels on us, but you can never, ever touch the core of who we are, the I am inside.
So after all that, how does this nightmare finally end? Well, it's not with some big epic battle. It's actually much simpler. Led by Evan and Abby, who's finally seen the light, the students just stop. They take off the tails, they drop them on the floor, they end the game by simply refusing to play anymore. They realize the whole system only worked because they all agreed it did.
And that's what this whole story leaves us with. It's a question for us, really. We live in a world that is just flooded with engineered stories, manufactured crises, and ideologies that are trying to sell us something. So in the middle of all that noise, how do you find what's actually true for you? And maybe more importantly, how do you know when it's time to just drop the tail and walk away from the game?